For today, you're going to need a messy mat, a water sponge, a loop tool, and a needle tool. Chances are, after you pull out your clay palette from your bag, you're going to need to smooth your palette out a little bit. Double check the edges, the sides, and make sure that they are still smooth. If you need to, put a little bit of water on your finger, and that will help your finger to glide over your clay. So use even pressure. Not too much pressure. We don't want any fingerprints on the inside of our palettes or around the edges. So just even pressure and go around the outside edges and the top just to smooth everything so it's nice and even. Next, you're going to use your needle tool, that's the one with the pointy end, to draw in your wells. Now, as I'm drawing these in, I'm thinking about what I want the overall design to look like. I don't want my wells to be too small or too big. I also don't want to press down too hard when I'm drawing. I'm just scratching the surface. I'm not actually carving anything out yet. When I place my wells, I want to make sure that I leave space in between my wells so that when I'm carving them out, they don't collapse. So I'm leaving a little bit of space in between my wells so that I have room to carve. So remember, we're trying to get between 7 and 10 wells inside of our palette, but we don't want them to be too crowded. So think about your spacing, think about your shapes, and think about your sizes before you begin to carve. If I'm happy with the placement of all of my wells, I can move on to the next step. You can always smooth it out and start over if you need to redraw your wells. So you can see here that I've picked up my loop tool and I'm going to begin carving out my wells. I'm going to carve a little strip at a time to make sure that I stay inside of my lines, to make sure that my walls don't collapse. And I also just want to carve out a little bit at a time. You have to be very careful not to carve too deep. If you carve too deep, then you're going to have to start all over. You do not want your wells you don't want to have a hole in the bottom of your palette. That's not going to serve its purpose very well. So I'm going to just a little bit at a time continue carving out clay. And every once in a while, you'll see me pick the extra clay off. You'll see me smooth out the edges. And I might even get a little bit of water and go on the inside of my well to feel how deep it is, to feel how close to the bottom I am. You can feel when it starts to get too thin, and just to smooth it all out and make it look nice. So after I'm finished with my first one, I'll move on to my second well and just continue on nice and slow so that I don't make any mistakes. At this point, you don't want to have to start over. So just take it slow and try to stay inside of those lines that you drew, and try to keep everything nice and smooth. When you are done carving, you're going to go back over all of your spaces and smooth. You're going to smooth, 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 smooth some more, and then smooth one more time. You're going to smooth the inside of your wells. You're going to smooth around the outside edges, and you're going to probably have to smooth those outside walls of your palette again. As we carve, things begin to kind of shift and move around. So smoothing is what makes it look really nice and professional. Take your time. It's going to be more than 2 seconds worth of work. So if you're happy with everything and everything is smoothed out, you're going to place your palette back into your plastic bag. This time it needs to be sealed, and you need to make sure that it's nice and flat in your drawer.